An exclusive coming in from NDTV Profit. Charu, the securities regulator, has now come out saying it's investigating the misuse of rights issue funds. Charu, give us more details.
So some sources that NDTV Profit spoke to told us that SEBI is currently investigating 4 to 5 entities and is also examining the issue broadly. They said what happens is that whenever there's a pump and dump sort of a scheme going on, people see it right in the charts that there is a price manipulation, and it is very easy to identify for the regulator and also for the investors. But in rights issue preferential allotments or methods used to basically raise money, it becomes very difficult to track what is happening, and an immediate impact is not seen. So they are seeing a rise in activities where small and dormant companies basically go ahead with rights issues which are of very small amount, usually lesser than 50 crores. And then they see that a lot of money is raised through these repeated issues and preferential allotments and then siphoned off between the promoters and their family members. So in order to curb such practices, SEBI, after seeing an increase in these activities for the past year or so, is going ahead and investigating them. It has also been said that it is very frequently that something like this has been seen now, and SEBI wishes to end in a way this sort of a practice, and is also saying that it is finding such practices to be very difficult to curb because it also has to heavily rely on investor complaints and whistleblower mails to deal with such practices. It does not have a sort of an alert system to deal with them. Hence, proper long-drawn investigations are being carried out.
Thanks, Charu, so much for bringing us those details. And indeed, regulatory scrutiny on the space continues. Let's talk about Pocket, which we mentioned at the start of the show, which was under pressure yesterday. And the question I want to ask Avinash Gorakshakar is, if you are in some of these wires and cables companies, if you bought in perhaps after that initial jolt that these companies took when Ultratech Cement announced its foray, and you are stuck right now and you've seen a battering in trade yesterday, what do? Do you try to get in? Because there are a few question marks that still remain about what the implications are for second player coming through, Avinash.
Yeah, I think, Alex, initially when Ultratech entered and made an announcement to enter the wire and cable sector, we saw a sell-off in prominent players like Polycab, KEI. And I think now with Adani Group coming in this sector, I think the competition is going to heaten up further. See, whenever you find companies which are operating in a very concentrated space and where they dominate the market, I think very clearly what happened in the paint sector is going to get repeated in the wire and cable sector. Of course, the near-term implications will not be felt in the financials of these companies, but I think typically from FY27 onwards, I feel you could see a lot of competitive intensity. And valuations of both these companies, if you see Polycab, KEI, valuations are definitely not cheap. They're fair to expensive. So I think any further re-rating, Alex, from these levels looks to be unlikely. And what the market is going to be concerned is going to be the kind of growth. Whether growth will be stunted for these companies, whether it will be profitable, whether these companies will also have to cut down their prices, because there's definitely going to be another round of disruption from both Ultratech and Adani. So this is definitely not good news for the for these companies, but maybe good for the customers because they would obviously get better products at more competitive prices. So I think it's better to avoid these companies for the time being. Although the numbers for FY26 may not be all that bad, 27 is definitely going to be a shootout year where you could see a lot of margin pressure.